Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Thailand and Malaysia have agreed to transform the Deep South border area between the two countries into a trade zone. In a joint press conference with Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, Thai Prime Minister Seta Thavisin says the matter of national security in the Deep South and North Malaysia is of high concern to both governments.
We agreed to turn the minor war zone into a trade zone. We try to bring prosperities to the people in the Deep South and the Northern Malaysia that also go in line with the increased trade and commerce volume between the two countries. We may have enjoyed a decent number of volume of trade, but both Excellencies and I believe that in going forward, the number of trade volume should increase by much more than what we have planned to do.
The two countries also agreed to form a number of task forces to focus on tourism, trade, security and agriculture for the next 1 month. Seta's two-day working trip to Malaysia marks his maiden visit to the country after being sworn in as Thailand's premier on September 5th. Thailand was Malaysia's 7th largest trading partner globally in 2022. Meanwhile, Proton and Chinese car maker Proton-Geely Holding Group is looking to set up an electric vehicle factory in Thailand. According to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, his Thai counterpart is also open to the proposal.
I mentioned to him about Geely Proton interest in benefiting from the vast experience and advance of the automobile industry in Thailand, and we have asked them to discuss this with Prime Minister Seta, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that he has taken a very open view to support this endeavor.
Proton is majority owned by DRB HiCom, while Geely holds a 49.9% stake. Earlier, DRB HiCom signed an agreement with Geely for the development of an automotive hub in Tanjung Malim. The Chinese firm is expected to invest some $10 billion into the project.
Negotiations with Indonesia over the cost of bringing domestic workers into Malaysia are ongoing. Human Resources Minister V. Simakumar says that both countries have formed a working committee to facilitate the matter.
According to the minister, the current cost of bringing in a domestic worker could go up to 15,000 ringgit, which he said was too high. He also denied claims that Indonesia would temporarily stop domestic workers from entering the country, saying he has yet to receive feedback from Indonesia on the issue. Of the 81,129 applications to hire domestic workers, the Indonesian embassy previously said only 4,400 had been approved. And of that number, only 2,300 workers had arrived and began working in Malaysia as of June.
The Education Ministry is drafting a bill to expand compulsory school from primary to secondary level. Deputy Education Minister Lim Hui Yeng says the proposal is for students to complete the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia or SPM.
Lim said the ministry had been holding engagement sessions with several stakeholders, including Suhakam, the National Union of the Teaching Profession, and non-governmental organizations. She added that Malaysia's student dropout rate was on the decline between the period of 2019 to 2020.
Kadar keciciran murid pada peringkat rendah menurun daripada 0.12% pada tahun 2019 kepada 0.07% pada tahun 2022. Pada peringkat menengah pula, kadar keciciran menurun daripada 1.14% pada tahun 2019 kepada 0.99% pada tahun 2022. Namun KPM akan memuktamadkan data kadar keciciran murid bagi tahun 2023 selepas menerima maklumat enrolment dari agensi selain KPM.
The Health Ministry is expected to be among those to receive the biggest allocations in Budget 2024. Dr. Azizan Abdul Aziz, President of the Malaysian Medical Association, hopes a portion of these funds can go towards fairly compensating public healthcare workers.
For the budget 2023, the Health Ministry also got the second highest budget. But however, it was more for the operational side. What we want is more higher allocation to the development. Right? In the 2023 budget, the Health Ministry had 36.3 billion ringgit, but only 4.8 billion ringgit went for development. The rest was for operational costs, as I said, mainly fixed overheads. So the budget we are looking at is for budget for development that we hope will be spent on growing and developing our healthcare human resources. We also hope that a substantial amount will go towards increasing the wages of the public healthcare doctors. As the Prime Minister has also said that he's looking towards increasing the wages of the civil servants. So we hope the public healthcare workers is also included in these plans. And there's also more than 10 years there hasn't been a increase in salary. So it is really high time, and you can see the healthcare workers, especially during the pandemic, their services was really invaluable, towards the nation. I think it's high time to increase their pay substantially.
Dr. Azizan said the Health Ministry must also focus on expanding its facilities and the Madani medical scheme.
A substantial amount should also go towards expanding the healthcare services in rural areas of Sabah and Sarawak. Secondly, apart from that, we also would like to see increase in the budget for the Madani medical scheme. As it is a good scheme, initially it was just involving the overcrowding in government hospitals for the B40 group in obtaining acute primary care services or outpatient treatment. So they will go to the general GPs, and we are happy that the government has expanded it nationwide. So we also hope that they will expand it to include non-communicable disease management, involve the strength of the 13,000 private GPs who are well distributed nationwide, and this will also get better management of the NCDs, the congestion. There will be more time, consultation with the GPs rather than going to the public because it's already crowded.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Apa khabar orang utara? Jelajah USME akan jumpa hamba di Penang. Macam-macam ada bengkel usahawan Unified Business, bank rakyat dan TikTok Shop, perkongsian ilmu dengan tokoh SME, sesi saya jual dan banyak lagi. Mana kata kita pakat jumpa 21 dan 22 Oktober ini.
Dibawakan oleh penaja utama Jelajah USME, Unified Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Sarawak berpotensi untuk muncul sebagai hub utama pengeluar dan pengeksport amonia biru di Asia Tenggara.
KKD sedang mengenal pasti lokasi sesuai bagi pemasangan 3 unit peranti satelit Starlink di Sabah.
Aduan penduduk kampung yang menerima bil elektrik mencecah ribuan ringgit baru-baru ini.
Welcome back. 5 Malaysians, comprising a woman with her mother and 3 children, are currently in the West Bank. According to Wisma Putra, the Malaysian embassy in Amman, Jordan, is keeping constant contact with them.
Wisma Putra advised against travelling to areas affected in the ongoing Palestine-Israel conflict. It also urged non-governmental organisations who still intend to travel to these areas to refer their plans to the ministry first. It also said it was in the process of channeling 1 million ringgit for early humanitarian aid through the People's Humanitarian Trust account for Palestine.
The Israeli military says hundreds of thousands of troops are close to the Gaza border, ready to carry out their mission. This comes as fears grow that Israel will soon launch a ground offensive in the Gaza Strip. But the Israeli government has not said whether it will send in troops. A ground offensive carries risks for Israel, especially for the hostages kidnapped by Hamas in the attack on Saturday. The death toll from the conflict has reached 1,200, while more than 900 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes against Hamas have displaced about 264,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, according to the United Nations Humanitarian Relief Agency. And the numbers are increasing due to continuing airstrikes. Out of the number, UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees said that more than 175,000 people in Gaza have taken refuge in 88 of its schools. Israel has cut water and electricity supply to Gaza, worsening the already dire humanitarian situation. Home to nearly 2.2 million, about 80% of people in Gaza relied on humanitarian aid even before the latest war began. Nearly 500,000 people have not been able to get their food rations since Saturday. The Palestinian Energy Authority also warned that Gaza's only power station will run out of fuel on Wednesday. A 6.3 magnitude earthquake has struck Afghanistan's western province of Herat, claiming at least one life and causing panic among residents already traumatized by a series of earthquakes just 3 days ago that left over 4,000 people dead. Officials said that more than 100 people were injured from the second earthquake.
The wider impact of the latest quake is not yet clear. Although many villagers were already sleeping in the open after their homes were destroyed over the weekend, authorities were forced to redeploy rescue and relief teams in the field following Saturday's deadly quakes. But relief efforts have been hampered by poor infrastructure in the country following decades of war and a decline in foreign aid since the Taliban took over. Pakistan, Iran, Turkey and China have already pledged to send in food, medicines, tents and funds, and the UN's humanitarian office also announced $5 million worth of assistance.
In Paraguay, a riot broke out in the country's largest prison, the Tacumbo Penitentiary, on the outskirts of the capital. The prison was set on fire and 11 guards were taken hostage, with 2 hostages later released after military intervention.
The Tacumbo prison is known for its overcrowded conditions, with nearly 4,000 inmates housed in a ramshackle, tin-roofed building. Local security experts have noted that gangs have a significant influence within the prison. Police braced themselves behind riot shields as the entrance to the prison went up in flames. However, authorities later reported that firefighters had successfully brought the blaze under control. Interior Minister Enrique Riera said that once the current riots were over, the Paraguayan government would prioritize pushing through prison reforms.
Australian TV anchor Cheng Lei has been released by China more than 3 years after she was detained on espionage charges. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who made the announcement today, said she has returned home to Melbourne and reunited with her family.
Cheng, a former presenter for Chinese state broadcaster CGTN, had been detained since August 2020. She was only formally arrested months later and eventually charged with supplying state secrets overseas. Cheng was tried behind closed doors, with even Australia's ambassador to China blocked from entering the court to observe proceedings. This case has been widely viewed as politically motivated and has been a serious point of friction between Canberra and Beijing. China has a history of detaining foreign nationals at times of high political tension with their home nations, raising accusations of hostage diplomacy. Born in Hunan province, Cheng is now an Australian national who emigrated to the country as a child before returning to China and joining the state broadcaster in 2012.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.
Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. The government is reviving the National Service Training